Well, hello friends, I'm David Vose. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Well, today I want to talk about the book of Ezekiel. We're going to continue on in the book of Ezekiel, just a little bit, because I want to read you something. You know, remember how what we've been saying is that the Old Testament is not what we were told. There's something going on in the Old Testament, and it isn't good, because this particular God that we were told was our Father in heaven, was our loving Father, issued demands of genocide and hated people and created the idea of slavery and, you know, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and we've gone into this. Well, the book of Ezekiel is particularly disturbing because the whole thing is about this angry God that looks down on mankind with such wrath and vengeance, and he hates everybody and he's trying to murder everybody. But I want to show you a particular verse in Ezekiel chapter 23 that is particularly disturbing. I have to say, I know that this verse is there, has been there, I've read it before, but I guess it didn't hit me so strong as it did today, because I was reading it in the New World Translation, which uses a slightly different vernacular. And I suppose I didn't read it very carefully in some of the other translations, but it is shocking. And I want you to think about this as I read it. Is this your holy scripture, the Old Testament? Is that your holy and sacred God? Is that your Father? Is this the God of love? I want to read you a little bit of this. And start just throughout the book of Ezekiel chapter 23. It starts off, and this is the New Living Translation. And in that translation, it reads this way: "This message came to me from the Lord, Son of man." Remember now, this came from the Lord, from Jehovah. And Jehovah says, "Son of man, once there were two sisters who were daughters of the same mother." All right. Would make sense if they're sisters. "They became prostitutes in Egypt. As young girls, they allowed men to fondle their breasts, and the older girl was named Olaha." Yeah, I'm reading it from the Bible, friends. You heard me right. They allowed men to fondle their breasts. That's how they word this. And her sister was Oholibah. "I married them," Jehovah says, "I married them. And they bore me sons and daughters." I'm speaking of Samaria and Jerusalem. For Aholah is Samaria, and Oholibah is Jerusalem. "Then Aholah lusted after her lovers instead of me. She gave her love to the Assyrian officers. They were all attractive young men, captains and commanders dressed in handsome blue, charioteers driving their horses. And so she prostituted herself with the most desirable men of Assyria, worshipping their idols and defiling herself. For when she left Egypt, she did not leave her spirit of prostitution behind. She was still as lewd as her youth when the Egyptians slept with her, fondled her breasts, and used her as a prostitute. So I handed her over to the Assyrian lovers, whom she desired so much. They stripped her, they took away her children, and made them slaves. And then they killed her. No problem, they just killed her. And that was Jehovah's wife, right? Okay. After she received her punishment, see, to Jehovah, this is just punishment. Yeah, they killed her. They stripped her down, slapped her around, killed her. That's no problem. Her reputation was known to every woman in the land. By golly, we made an example of her, right? So that no one else will, go around prostituting. Yet even though Oholibah saw that what had happened to Aholah, her sister, she followed right in her footsteps, and she was even more depraved, abandoning herself to the lust and to the prostitution. She fawned over the Assyrian officers, those captains and commanders in handsome uniforms, those charioteers and driving their horses, all of them attractive young men. I saw the way she was going, defiling herself like her older sister. Then she carried her prostitution even further. She fell in love with pictures that were painted, pornography, that were painted on a wall. Pictures of Babylonian military officers. She falls in love with pictures. Handsome belts encircled their waists, and flowering turbans crowned their heads. She lusted after lovers with genitals as large as a donkey's, and their emissions like those of horses. And so, Oholibah, you relived your former days as a young girl in Egypt, when you first allowed your breasts to be fondled. Oh, my goodness, really? I mean, is it necessary to talk about how large their genitals are and her breasts being fondled? And what are you talking about? The emissions like those of a horse. Her semen, the semen like those of a horse. What kind of talk is that? Why is it in our scriptures? And why is this God Jehovah talking about this, talking this way about his wife? Friends, I don't know. I think it's pornography, and I can't even imagine reading that in church. You know, with all the little children there in church, and you're reading, I'm going to read the Holy Bible, and this God says he's going to let his wife go get fondled by some guys with large genitals, and it's like, what? Are you serious? So anyway, I don't even want to, really, I'm not going to go on and on about this. I just wanted to point that out to you guys, and I just think it's quite interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and go, guys. You guys have a great day. It's David Vose. We'll see you tomorrow.